Hey YouTube, it's your girl Chic from Chic Say What, and I am coming to you today with another video. I wanted to talk about this thing I've been hearing about pretty privilege. There is a YouTuber out there, by I think her channel is called Oh Steph Co, and she had a viral video talking about the benefits of being pretty and how she doesn't feel that she's been able to benefit from that because I suppose she don't really put herself in that pretty category, whatever that may be. So I wanted to just come on here just to talk about that, to get your thoughts on whether or not you feel that one's looks, aesthetics, features, like things on the physical makes a difference when it comes to the quality of a person's life. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to know, if anyone has kind of experienced it, whether it be on the end of just benefiting because of their looks, or if they felt like they maybe have been discriminated or mistreated because of their looks. So yeah, that's what I'm on here today to talk about. Pretty privilege. Is that a thing? We live in a culture right now where everything is about, posting pictures on Instagram, Facebook, going on Snapchat, clothes, eyelashes, hair, weaves, BBLs, breast implants, like pretty much everything. We're in a culture of where people are really taking their hard-earned money and putting it on their bodies. And, you have some people who are like, yeah, do whatever you feel like you need to do to enhance your appearance. Even if that does mean, going under the knife, having plastic surgery, going to get your teeth done, even having LASIK, whatever that is to make you feel good, go and do you, boo, do you. Then you have those on the other side who feel like, no, you need to love yourself, however you are. That's the way God made you. There's no need to change. If someone is looking for you to change, tell them to kick rocks. What you see is what you get. If old boys say, hey, you too big, tell him go on, buy, or for fellas, if your girls say, hey, you kind of got a gut, go do something about it. Like basically right now, it's like we live in this culture of everyone has something to say about someone's appearance. And we have people who are noticeably impacted by that, and you have some that aren't. Now, my thing is, just because you don't see someone on the surface, they don't appear to be impacted by maybe how people may feel about how they look. It doesn't mean that it's not a real thing or an issue for them, because people handle criticism differently. You have some people who, if they're criticized, they'll be vocal about it and let it be known that they're criticizing. I'll let you know how they feel about it, whether, they're like, I don't care, or whether or not if they do care. But then you have some people who, if they are criticized, they kind of don't let it be known that they're feeling a certain way about how people may perceive them. So they may internalize that. And as a result of that, it can create, depression, all kinds of different, mental health disorders as a result of just the criticism that they endured. I grew up in a culture where, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. I just remember repeatedly, hearing that over and over again when I was a child. And I was someone who, say, if someone said something to me, I would be bothered by it. But that would be the comment that, my family, the adults, parents would tell me. So I felt like, the message was, well, they're just words. It doesn't matter. But deep down, they did matter. It did have an impact on me. Fast forward to being an adult, I have a greater understanding of the importance of the words that you put out into the atmosphere, the words that you say onto others. So, with that being said, when I became a parent, I became conscious of those things as far as the words that I said to my children. I didn't want them to hear from me, oh, words don't matter, because at the end of the day, they do. Now, it is important for people to know and be secure in who they are. So therefore, they know that one's thoughts and opinions of you is just that. Everyone has a thought and opinion, but you do not have to absorb that and take that on. So back to the YouTuber, Stefco, she just talked about not, going out with friends and not being the most attractive one in the group, or then she got to a point where she just didn't want to go out with the pretty friend because the pretty friend would get all the attention. So, when she said that, it just made me think about, wow, like how I've heard of things like that, being, happening. I personally never been one to really just go out to try to, to have to experience, getting either me being treated differently from someone else I was with because of my looks, whether it be good or bad. I really didn't experience that, but I have heard people kind of talk about that. You'll hear like, what I've heard is like a pretty girl would not hang out with like other pretty girls because she wants to get all the attention. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, or if you've experienced that where, you got your bad friend and then, or you feel like you don't measure up to her, but she always want to kick it with you or take you because, she knows she's going to get the attention. We can always kind of move the conversation just even when it just comes to skin tone. We also now are in this culture of, the whole red bone culture versus the dark skin, where when we turn on the TV, we see the music videos, you mostly see representation of either non-Black, or if they are Black women, they're racially ambiguous, they're light skinned, they have a certain loose texture hair. But basically, for many Black girls, you're not really seeing the representation of yourself. And that's a real thing. I recently seen where there was also another YouTuber, not quite sure. I think she's on Instagram. She has a pretty big following. Can't think of her name right now, but there was something where I think there was some boys that did a test and they had girls lined up and, they were just, different shades and stuff. And the boy would say if whether or not he was smashed or not. So here it is, you have the fair skinned girls and you have a dark skinned girls. And if it was a dark skinned girl, they were legit be like, no, you seem like you might be cool, but you not my type, or, you're a little too dark for my taste, even though some of the gentlemen were dark complexion guys. So that's pretty much what I'm talking about. It's just like, does it matter what we look like? And we may verbally say, no, it don't matter, be who you are, you're beautiful. But at the end of the day, do we really believe that? And does society really show, hey, I'm beautiful regardless of the size I am, how tall I am, what size dress I wear, what size jeans I wear? Because, like I said, when you look at the music videos, you typically often see just a certain type of girl presented. And then you hear about all these ladies, going, and I'm just talking about the ladies right now because these things can provide, can apply to the fellas as well. But I'm just talking about the ladies right now in this instance where, women are going out getting the surgeries. Recently, I live in Atlanta, and then there was, it was going across the internet about these ladies being lined up at the airport. And I saw the clip of them being inside of wheelchairs, waiting to board the plane and needing assistance because, they just had these surgeries and they're needing help. So it's just like, wow, is it really that serious? And going off of just what we see, it seems like it is, it is that serious. And I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's, we're living in a culture to where, the bigger the butt, the better, the bigger the breast, like everything is like go big or go home. The more inches on your hair, the better, the longer the eyelashes, the better. It's just bigger is better today. And what really prompted me to want to get on to do this video is that today I learned of a Russian model who recently jumped to her death from, I believe it was maybe like a 22-story 22-story building, because she wasn't happy. Let me see if I can try to share the screen to show you kind of what she looks like. But she basically jumped to her death, and I mean, she was, a beautiful girl, like I think, and 29, but she wasn't happy. She did have a boyfriend, but, they say that, she was ready for family and kids and all of that. So if we go back to, what Stepco talked about as far as the pretty girl privilege, I would think that this young lady, her name is, let me see. Christina Lacina, aka Chris the Fox. I would think that Stepco would probably consider this young lady to fall into that category of the, having the pretty girl privilege. But like I said, y'all, I just said the lady just jumped off the building. So we got to take it goes deeper than the surface, because this is someone, I believe she also had like a OnlyFans count. She had a lot of followers. She was making money, but she wasn't happy. So another layer to this whole pretty girl privilege is just because someone is beautiful on the outside, that has nothing to do with how they feel on the inside. Like I don't know if it was T.I. that had a song. He said, you might look good on the outside, but you piss poor on the inside. Like that's a real thing. Like that's a real thing. You really just never really know what somebody is going through just because of, what they look like. Like, when has someone's looks ever determined how they feel on the inside, or what they got going on at home? I recently was listening to an interview, and it's a really good interview with Cynthia Bailey's husband. And it was over the weekend. I was in the car, and he was just talking about a book that he wrote, and how writing that book kind of prepared him to be the man that prepared him for his future wife, which became Cynthia Bailey, her husband, Mike Hill. So like I said, it was a really good interview. It was on the radio. And he said he and Cynthia both agree that had he not wrote that book, they wouldn't be together, because it was just a lot of healing he had to go through. But he just talked about, prior to meeting her some years prior, how you would see him on TV and he's working, he's doing this and that. But he said when he go home, he'd cry. Like he just was not happy. And he's an attractive man, just as she's a beautiful woman. But he said he was not happy. And it just was a real thing, because just even from my own personal just experience, when I just think about my own life and the different places that I've been, I remember one day telling a friend of mine who was, at that time, she was, a bigger girl. She's still a bigger girl, but she's much, basically, obviously overweight. But I just remember telling her about how just because someone is smaller, such as myself, because I always been like a small frame person, it has nothing to do with what's going on in their life. And I just talked about how at one point when I was the most fit physically in my life, because I was working out, doing a lot, I was probably maybe about 30, maybe. that was probably the most trying times in my life. I had a lot going on, but on the outside, you didn't see that because I looked what one might think, or what I thought at the time, is my best. I was like physically my best self. But internally, that was like a worse point, in my life, definitely in my adult life. I was really going through a lot. So I say that to say that you can't judge the quality of someone's life based off of their looks. And the woman who, Christina, who recently passed from jumping from the building, she is a prime example that you can't judge it by your looks, because you have a lot of people in this world who are hurting. And that's a real thing. It's so many people who are hurting in this world. And as they say, hurt people hurt other people. And we just have to, sometimes we have to try to take a step back and not make things about us. So not get caught up in how I'm feeling today, what I'm feeling about something, but just think about, how somebody else may be feeling. Where if you see maybe this person is acting funny, shady, ugly, yes, it's easy to kind of get in your feelings and say, forget them, whatever. But sometimes we have to have enough compassion to stop and to really show interest to see what's going on with this person. Because more often than not, it's not even about you when they're coming off to you with that negative energy. It's something much deeper than that. And a lot of times I think people realize deep down, they know when, okay, they're going through something and they probably need help, but a lot of people are afraid to explore it. It's almost like peeling back the layers of an onion. People don't want to really deal with what's underneath. So they are rather kind of keep it surface and just point the finger. It's, as they say, it's easier to point the finger. Okay, he this, he that, or she this, or she that, versus taking a step back and saying, okay, I got all this going on. All my relationships, they're going to hell. Like, what's really going on? Because sometimes it comes down to the reality of you yourself being that common denominator. Let that marinate. If you are the common denominator, the center purpose of all the failed relationships, whether it be your family, your friends, romantic, that it can't be everybody else. Like, it can't be. It has to be something going on with you and you dealing with you. And sometimes, we try to mask things, put our hair on, put our lashes on, put our makeup on, put our pretty little clothes, shoes on, grab our handbag, put our perfume on, because we're trying to mask and cover up something that's still there. And sometimes we even want to go as far as to run, change cities, move out the country, get a new man. But if the problem is something that's going on internally, I always say you can go anywhere in the world and it's still going to be with you. So unless you stop and deal with what's going on with you, it's there. Sis, it's there. It's not going anywhere. And it's not going to do nothing but just kind of eat you up inside and fester in you. And I recently heard somebody say something, and I thought like it was just like, I'm like, wow, I believe, that's kind of what I did, but I did it without thinking. They talked about reinventing yourself. Like, it's never too late to change it up. Like if you just not happy with something, like, I was listening to, someone doing a commentary on Stepco's video. I think it was part number 2. And the person, I was listening to Leandria TV, and she talked about how she felt like Stepco was just kind of sitting in her position versus trying to just change something about her. Like, she said, her clothes aren't too exciting because she's a school teacher. But I mean, we can simply go shopping. Like, that's a real thing, because just since everyone's been home, with the whole pandemic thing, I even made some changes in my life. And when I started making those changes, it wasn't like this profound thought of, oh, I need to do something different with my life. Let me change. I just now kind of looked back over time and seen that's what I did. During the pandemic, I had my 40th birthday in October. And I told myself that once I turned 40, like I wanted my 40s to be like a time where I can say I'm in the best physical shape, the best health. Like I just want to feel like I was winning as I was going into my 40s. So I started, I already was like, avid walker and things like that. So I kicked that up a notch. Then earlier this year, I went ahead and even started. I'm like, okay, let's kind of amp this thing up and just exercise. So I even did that. Transform my life. There was a time, remember when I talked about at 30, when working out, all that was my life. But my world was crumbling, but physically, because I think I probably turned to exercise as more of like a kind of like your scapegoat. So fast forward, within the last couple of, like when I think about prior to this year, when I would think about exercising, I would just be completely turned off by it. Like I couldn't do it. And I feel like the reason why is because at a point in my life where I just was an avid person that exercised, it was a time where I was at a good place. And I don't know if maybe subconsciously exercising was kind of a reminder of that place, but I just didn't want no parts of it, y'all. I will walk until my legs get weak and I fall out. But as far as exercising, whether it be at a gym, I dang sure wasn't interested in going to the gym, but even at home, I just was not interested. But this year, it started out where, back in March, I asked my girlfriend back in California, back home, like, hey, let's do this little workout thing. And I've done it just about every day since then. That was March. And I've transformed my life so much just by starting with just exercising again. Now it's just like, it's rare that I go a day without exercising. And I've been able to just see the physical change just with my body, just by doing that. And by me seeing the change, it sparked me into wanting to try different things as far as even with my wardrobe when it comes to just colors, wearing dresses, just little things, just the little things. And it's just made the world of a difference just for me and myself, the response that I just get from just people when I go out and about. So that's why I just preach to ladies, like, put that effort into yourself. If you just, even if you don't have a man or you're not nothing like that, just do it for you. Go take a walk. If you do it for you, you'll be able to keep it up, because anytime we do something for somebody else, 9 times out of 10, we're not going to keep it up, because once that person's gone or they pissed you off, you're just going to stop and be like, well, forget it. You're just going to check out. So that's why I say, make sure you do it for you. Something as simple as, okay, I'm just going to go buy me a dress or buy some shoes, just something small, because I do believe in that saying, when you look good, you feel good. And that's a real thing. So I think that just something like that can help with just our self-esteem, because somebody who may walk around, like say like Stepco, who think they not a pretty girl and nobody finna check for them across the room, you never know what someone sees in you. So it starts from within yourself, because when you have a light in you, it shines and people see it. A smile, my mom would always say, a smile goes a long way. And that's something I definitely learned just entering adulthood, is just, I learned to smile more, because I saw that I got a better response from people when I smiled. When you smile, you make, especially as a single person, you make yourself appear to be more approachable by smiling. So single ladies out there, practice smiling. Let's start there. Practice smiling. When you leave the house in a way to where you feel good about how you're about to present yourself to the world. You know, as we, you know, I know I grew up and told men are visual. Men are visual. We women, we like to go, you know, we like to see something nice too. So that's no different than a man. So with that being said, put your best foot forward. And putting your best foot forward doesn't mean that you got to get all glammed up or anything like that. It's just saying, make yourself look nice and put your best foot forward. Put a smile on your face. That doesn't even cost anything, just to put a smile on your face. And just doing these little things, you would just be amazed at the difference of response that you'll receive from people in the world. And then that good feeling would transform, or has the ability to transfer into other aspects of your life. Whether it be just your, you know, at home, the workplace, you're just being outside, you know, talking to your neighbors. It's just the little things. So when it comes to the whole pretty privilege, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I definitely believe that who one person may find to be pretty or beautiful, you may find somebody else who may not necessarily agree. So I don't think that we should go off of, you know, the narrative that we have heard out there, especially on, you know, YouTube, where maybe you'll have guys who think that, okay, their opinion of you is the end all be all. Never let somebody tell you who you are. You know who you are. Because if you are aware of who you are, nobody can come along and tell you otherwise. Point blank, period. Know who you are, because that's going to be the key. Because oftentimes if people see that you're not aware of who you are, they will prey on that. And that's one thing that I've always known. I've always known who I was. So no one could tell me otherwise. So that's why, with that being said, the things that I have done in my life, I've done them for me. And because I've done them for me, I've been able to, for most of the things that I've done in life, been able to kind of keep them up because I was doing them for me. And anybody who know me know my hands are in all kinds of things, because I believe in trying, taking chances, not sitting back waiting for anything. And that's what we have to do. We have to be willing to just take a leap of faith, put ourselves out there, feel a little uncomfortable. It's fine. You know, you never know. I was watching a video today where it was a clip. You guys might have seen it on Shade Room where Jack Harlow approached Sweetie. She was doing an interview or something. And I guess it almost seemed like he had kind of walked by, and then she caught his eye and he kind of backtracked, and he took a chance and he extended his hand and looked her in the eye and asked her, you know, introduced himself. And I use as an example of taking a chance, doing something that's kind of like out of the norm for you, you know. Whether you fellas, if you normally, you know, don't be bold enough to step to, you know, a woman who you find to be attractive, take a chance and do it. Or ladies, if you normally are one to not say something to a man that you find to be attractive and you just hoping and praying that he say something to you, find some type of opportunity to say something to him. Just very casual. Put yourself out there. Find that opportunity to be able to flash a smile. It's just going for the things that we want in life, because life is so short to where we can't just sit and just wait for things to just happen. Like, I'm all about putting forth that energy to make things happen. Like, I'm in this culture now, like, we finna make this happen, because sitting and waiting, like, what is that doing for us? Like, if you've been saying, oh, I need to work out, I need to lose this weight, get up and do it. I mean, I love my saying, don't talk about it, be about it. Like, get up, do something, bust a move. You know, walking may turn into, you know, suddenly you jogging, or, you know, walking outside may turn into you doing some little exercises in the house, but you never know, because over time, it evolves. And next thing you know, you've just transformed yourself physically and as well as your life. So take a chance, be happy with you and what you bring to the table. Don't, get to this point where it's just like, well, okay, well, nobody want me, or I have these kids, or I got this, or I got that. If there's a will, there's a way. Don't let things get in the way of stopping you from being who you want to be in life, stopping you from being great. And these things that I'm talking about, they don't necessarily transform into you making a doctor's appointment to go see a doctor to make some alterations to your body. That's not necessary. Like, to each his own. If you find it necessary to go do this, that, whatever to make yourself feel better, that's you. I'm not here to judge. But what I'm saying is that we all have to get to a place to where we're happy within. And then when we're happy within, that'll start to show on the outside. So everything to me, starts from within. And I feel like once you start dealing with what's within, everything else will start to fall into place. I mean, they have to, because everything starts with a mindset, having a positive mindset. And I try to go through life with having a positive mindset, and I try to surround myself with people with positive mindsets. Let me tell y'all, I do not like talking to people or even being around people who are negative. It's draining. The energy is draining. When I say I don't like it, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to vacation with you. I don't want to do nothing. I don't even want to talk to you on the phone. Like, people who give me life, who makes me smile, who has this positive energy, those are the ones that I'm more apt to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, what's up? But if you're not giving me that kind of energy, you're not hearing from me. I may pick my phone up when you call, but you're not hearing from me like that, because that's not what I'm trying to bring into my life. And this can apply for just whether it be your friends, your family, like anybody. Like, my thing, I've come to this place, guys, where sometimes it can even still be people as close to you as like family members that can kind of take a toll on you. It's not even always just people like external people and stuff like that. We all have the right to pick and choose who we want to be a part of our life, no matter who they are, whether they're friends or family. We all have that right. And just because somebody is family, that doesn't mean that they automatically get a pass to treat you any kind of way. That doesn't mean that. As they say, I believe, Oprah said this, I learned this from her years ago, you have to treat people how to treat you. And that's a real thing. If somebody not treating you right, let them go. Don't talk to them. They gonna pick it up. They're gonna be like, wow, this person, she ain't even calling me no more. She ain't doing nothing more. Because if they not making you feel all good, warm and fuzzy and happy, what the heck, what are we doing here? Why am I talking to you? What you're not going to do is stress me to hell. Why am I talking to you? I'm not talking to you. I have choices. I have the choice to talk to you or not. I don't have to sit and endure whatever it is that you are putting off. I don't have to, regardless of who you are. I don't have to. And you know what? You don't have to either, regardless of what somebody else may say to you. You do not have to either. We all have a choice. We all can pick and choose who we want to be a part of our lives. And those who you do choose to be a part of your life, they're special. That means they bring meaning to your life. But if somebody's in your life and they're not making you feel that way, you need to reevaluate that whole situation. Because from my own personal experience, when you let go of that energy, that negative energy, you'll feel better. You'll feel better. And as time goes on, you accept it more, and it's easier for you to carry on without that person because you've already come to accept the terms that you had to let go, almost like dead weight. You had to let go of something that wasn't healthy for you. And sometimes that's very hard for us to do. We'll endure things over and over again. It can be a relationship, just a relationship with your family member. It can be a romantic relationship, but you'll just find yourself just in this spin wheel where you're just constantly doing the same old, just enduring the mental, emotional, psychological abuse, because oftentimes that's what it is, abuse. And you do it because it's what you're used to, or what you feel like it's expected of you to do, or what you feel like you're obligated to do. And that's not the case for any of what I just said. You're not obligated to endure something that doesn't make you feel good. So with the beauty privilege, it needs to start from within. It needs to start from within. Outside beauty, sure, it's nice and we see that, we feel good, but we need to first focus on our inner selves. And then from there, take it to where, okay, we may want to, start working on some things on our outside. But, it's levels to all of this, and you need to do things, in stages. And I just feel like the first part should be to work on our inner self. And whether that means to pray, to meditate, to read self-help books, or even to seek counseling. That's another thing. So many people within our community, the Black culture, counseling is taboo. You grew up here and, I got Jesus, a lot of our parents like counseling. I learned just even, in school that of all the cultural groups, the African-American cultural group is the group that's least likely to go to counseling. And I think that's very disheartening because we have so many struggles that we endure. I personally feel like our cultural group has the most struggles, which means we got more reason to try to seek help, but we don't. We'd rather just try to deal with it ourselves. We don't end up being successful with it. And then we end up passing the trauma on to our children, and it becomes generational. And then we look up and we see generations of just hurt people, generations of lonely people. And I think a lot of people out there who aren't in relationships, a lot of people are lonely, and a lot of people don't. It's two things. I think a lot of people are afraid to address the issues that are present out of fear of what they may discover. A lot of people are afraid to address issues because they're fearful of what they just may discover. So what they do, they continue to just push people away. They continue to just point the finger and say it's her fault, it's his fault, it's their fault. But it's easier to do that because that allows for them to not have to be held accountable. That's another big thing, accountability. It's so many people who are afraid to be accountable. Everything starts with accountability. If you're not willing to be accountable, you're not going to get anywhere. It's almost like you ain't even getting off the porch. You got to be accountable. Because if you're not accountable, how you think you finna hold somebody else accountable? So many people are not accountable for their actions, for their behaviors. They got an excuse for everything. And those very people, you see it play out in their lives because their lives is in shambles. And you see the common theme is that they refuse to take accountability. They would rather focus on just other random stuff that has nothing to do with them and what they did. They'd rather just continue. Okay, well, let's not focus on that. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this. No, no, no. Let's talk about why you did this. That's deflecting. And you got a lot of people who go through life deflecting. And that's another thing that's training. People who just want to deflect and just say, well, oh, well, they'll be all right. You know, this just who I am. You know, they just gonna have to deal with it. Like, what? Like, when have that ever been okay? That where your approach to life is, okay, well, they'll be all right. They'll just have to deal with it. This is just who I am. As Dr. Phil used to say, I loved when he would say, and how is that working for you? So it comes down to, if you're not willing to change and people are responding to you a certain way and you're not liking how they responding to you, but you're not willing to change, that's going down the path of the definition of insanity, doing the same thing, but expecting something different. And I think we have a lot of people that does that. So it makes me wonder, do we have our relationships, just speaking on our culture, our cultural group, the Black culture, our relationships poor because of that? Nobody wanting to take accountability. Nobody wanting to do their part. Nobody wanting to own up to their own stuff. Yes, there's always a reason that we can point out to what this person did or what that person did, but there's always something that we can identify as to what we could have done better, even if it came down to simply, well, I could have addressed the person differently about that matter. My tone could have been different, just something, versus just saying, you did this, you did that, you did that. And then you want to completely dismiss the energy that you had when you maybe came at the person with whatever concerns that you have. Sometimes, as they say, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. It's not about what you say, it's how you say it. And that's something that I try to work on. You know, I've been married, come October, be 17 years. Me and my husband been together, come August will be 21 years. And that's something I had to learn. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's your delivery. It's your delivery. And what prompted me to change is that I no longer wanted to come off as an aggressive person, because a lot of times, you know, our behavior is learned. Our behavior is learned. And then when you think about that learned behavior and how it's worked out for those family members, those people, those generations before you, when you think about how life worked out for them with that same behavior, you can't help but to wonder, wow, is it time for me to make a change? Because you're not seeing positivity as a result of them continuing through life with that behavior. It's a behavior that a lot of people today call toxic. Toxic behavior. That's real, y'all. It's so much toxic behavior, toxic energy out here in these streets. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. And I feel like since we've been home and with the whole pandemic, I've really been enlightened to a lot of things. Things that before, it's almost like when you're forced to kind of stop and sit still and to stop and sit still and take in the world. That's what I feel like I've been doing. I've been able to kind of sit and just take things in. And I've just been enlightened by so many things on so many levels. And it's prompted me to move differently, you know, for the betterment of myself, for my marriage, for my children, just for my family. I've just, I don't wear as, I guess some might say, Lashik, wow, you've really kind of checked out. And it comes down to, you guys, listen, I believe in picking your battles, and you can't take on the world. You can't be worried and concerned about everything. You can't. I can't. So we have to focus on what we can control and being okay with the things that we cannot control. It's okay. It's okay to let people just live, to let people do them. It is okay, because I believe that none of us are here, none of us are positioned here to be the savior of the world. We were positioned here to do what God sent us to do, whether that be to kind of be a help aid to somebody else, to whatever it is. But I don't feel like we were put here to take on the stress of the world. And we have a lot of people today who are choosing just to do just that. And it's very sad and disheartening, because I can just see how overwhelming it is. But it's not natural. It's not what we're supposed to do. And there's a such thing as they say, you can worry yourself to a grave. That's a real thing. Stress kills. And I'm not trying, and I don't advocate people living their last days being stressed or being concerned about the things that they don't have control over. At the end of the day, all we have control over is ourselves. We only have control over ourselves. We can't control nothing else, y'all. Like, legit, we really can't. We can only control ourselves. And for us to try to control anybody, anything else, then you're just setting yourself up. And I've learned that, because I've spent a lot of times before in the past with trying to control things, situation, narratives, outcomes, and I can't do it anymore. And some people find it hard to accept with me making that change of not trying to take on that role as being She-Ra or Batwoman. But that's okay, because I know for my own mental health, as they say, you let go and let God. And that's what I've done. And I have better days because of it. I have better days because of it. And I think that when we do take on too much and we start to stress, that also can wear on us. So back to the pretty privilege, that stress can wear on you. It can start aging you. It can start making you feel older, not let alone look older, but also feel older. That's a real thing. We have to take care of ourselves. It's like a holistic approach. It's not one area is more important than the other. We just got to take care of ourselves, because once we can take care of ourselves and be healthy, then we're in a position to take care of other people. But you can't try to fix and heal nobody else when you broken yourself. And I see that going on, where we got a lot of broken people focused on trying to be a savior and heal and fix somebody else, when they need to be channeling that energy onto themselves. But again, it goes back to fear of what they may uncover. Fear. But that's life. That's life. It takes courage to continue to live. And the young lady, Christina Messina, who made the choice to leave because she couldn't cope anymore, is based out of fear. Fear out of what it may take to get the things that maybe she wanted out of life. fear. She didn't have the courage to push through and to continue to go after those things that she wanted out of life. Because I truly believe what we want out of life, we can get it, but it take work. Anything worth having, you're going to work for it, right? That's what I always was told. If it's worth having, you'll work for it. And a lot of people don't want to put the work in. And that's the thing, when people learn how long I've been with my husband, and it's like, wow, that's a long time. Yes, it is a long time. But it was work. It was work. We overcame a lot. We had obstacles. It was all that. So people see over the hill, oh, wow, you made it. But they weren't there. They didn't see the journey. They didn't see what it took to get to today at 16.5 years. They didn't see all of that. Some people did, but a lot of people didn't. So they just see like the number, like, oh, wow, that's a lot of years. It is. But I really think that the reason why our divorce rates are so high is because people don't want to put in the work. As I heard, I believe Judge Hatchett said, I think she had wrote a book. And she said, I think she titled it too. So her grandma used to say, if it was easy, everybody and their mama would be doing it. And I think she wrote a book and she titled that. But I just remember her saying that. And it's true. It's true. It was work. And I truly, they say like most marriages, like the 6 or 7 year mark, the divorce happens. That's that time when you start going through things, that little newlywed phase. After that 4 years, it kind of then worn off and you start experiencing some things. And that's when people start checking out. I know, because I remember in my marriage being at that point. Remember, I talked about at 30 when my life was, that was about the 7 year mark. That was about when I was ready to kind of check out. Because a lot of times, if you didn't grow up in an environment to see people work through things and overcome them, where are you learning to do that from? That's not what I seen. But my husband seen that. It's because of him we continue to stay married. He knew, okay, we can get through this. To me, I'm like, oh, it's time to go. But he knew differently. And I trusted that. And I said, okay, I'm going to keep going. Even though in that moment, I didn't feel like, I was going to change my mind or anything. But he did. So I'm like, well, I'm going to give it a try. We got kids. I'm going to keep going. And it was the best decision I could have ever made because he was right. We got through it. But a lot of times when you in the thick of it, you feel like you ain't going to never get out of it. What they say, a storm don't last forever. But when you in that storm, don't it feel like it's forever? It ain't going no damn where. It's like, it's there. That's how it felt. So I tell people who are in a storm, you're going to get through it, even though you may not feel you are. Because at the time when I was in the storm, my husband was pretty much the only one who felt like I was going to get through it. There was no one else speaking that into my life because they hadn't experienced that. Or when the storm hit them, they decided to about face and go the opposite direction. They didn't overcome it. So they couldn't speak to me along those lines of sticking it in. You'll get through it. You'll be fine. They couldn't speak that. My husband was able to speak to it because he's seen his parents go through it. They had been married. They had a death do you part situation. My father-in-law passed away maybe about 5 years ago, maybe. So he witnessed that. He witnessed that pretty much in his own household. And then just throughout his family, everyone's pretty much been married for many, many years to the same person. Like they all did the things complete opposite of what I seen in my family. So we had different experiences and I chose to trust him. And that was the best thing I could have done. So that's why I heard someone once say when you're young, so I was like 20. Let's see, I got married at right before I turned 24. So it was like 23. And I heard someone say that when you're young and you're getting married, it's good to have married people around, or another older married couple, someone who can help you through it. And that's a real thing, because like I said, that was what I was able to see what marriages were just from his side, regardless of whatever internal issues they may or may not had in their own marriage. Everyone has something, but I was able to see what it looks like to work through something. And then I was able to see that, as a result of them working through those things and getting over those hurdles, them being in their older years, having partnership and companionship. And that's something a lot of our women in our culture don't have. They don't have that. They don't have that. In those younger years, there was no endurance put in with the relationships they were in. They were dysfunctional, whatever it may be. So they didn't have anything to nurture and to have, later in life in the senior years. At least, not what I see within my family. It's a common thing for our women to be single in our later years until, we die and cross over. It's a sad situation, but it's the reality. And I don't like that it's like that, because I personally am a believer that I don't feel like people are meant to be here to be alone. I believe that we were put here to be with one another. I don't think people should be alone. I just truly don't. I don't think it's healthy. No matter how someone might say, oh, I just love being by myself. I hear people when they say that, but on the outside, I see things that don't appear to be healthy about their lives that basically further, and I guess strengthen my argument of people should be around other people. I think there's such thing as spending too much time by yourself. I think it's a such thing as being too, because I think when you do that, you start to lose those natural skills of being able to communicate with people. Because you were by yourself so much, you don't know how to interact with people. You don't know how to talk to people. So I see that play out when I see people who don't interact with people and they just, stay to themselves. They lose those skills. And then they become so abrasive where people like maybe don't feel so comfortable, maybe even being around them, because they got so used to not being around people and knowing how to communicate effectively with people, to where it's like it creates an uncomfortable environment because people either don't know how to take you, and then you feel like, well, okay, well, I'm different, I'm outcast, people don't like me being around. Well, no, it's not that. It's just the approach. But I think it comes with, once you practice being around people regularly, it'll then become natural. So again, that just goes back to just our own self-care. A lot of this just circles back to self. Pretty privilege. So the next time you see someone who you feel is pretty, just think about that. Just think about what may be going on with them in the inside. Just think about it, whether or not they feel pretty. Have you ever heard of something where people say, like, I'm one of those people, I feel like people who verbally go around saying things about themselves, I'm less likely to believe it. For example, someone who goes around saying regularly all the time, I look good, or I'm happy. I don't believe they feel that way, because happy people don't have to go around saying or trying to convince people how happy they are. That's not normal. That's not normal. People who are attractive, who look good, they don't have to go around telling people that. People know an attractive person when they see them. They don't need you to broadcast it. So that lets me know you're trying to convince yourself of something. There's some type of insecurity that you have, and you feel like, well, if you keep saying something, you'll convince, I don't know if you're going to you'll convince yourself, and in turn convince everyone else. But the truth is often unspoken. The truth is unspoken. I don't go around telling people how happy I am or talking about my looks or anything. I don't do any of that. I'm just me. I'm just me. And I feel like people who are operating and just being themselves, that's pretty much how it is. They're just them. Yeah. You don't have to convince the world or convince anyone of anything. Just be you. Do you, boo. Do you. Do you. At the end of the day, be you. Be unapologetically you. But be authentic. Don't be afraid. Don't operate out of fear. Be willing to take a chance. Be willing to try something new. Try something different. Live. Just live. Just let people live. Just you live and let people live. Let people live their lives. Respect people. Respect their stance. Stay in your lane. Allow for people to invite you into their lane. Don't just jump over it. But yeah, those are some things I just wanted to just get off my chest today, that I just felt this strong urge to jump on and to talk about, because I believe, there's a lot of hurt people in this world. And I think that many people, we all kind of need some form of healing. And once we heal ourselves, we'll be more apt to be able to be there to help the next person. But, if you're broken yourself, you got to stop and deal with yourself first. It's kind of like a parent taking care of kids. She can't be there for her kids the way she needs to if she's not taking care of herself. So she need to first take care of herself, so therefore she can be there to take care of her children. And that's just, just in general, when we're, looking at, how we gonna interact with the world. You got to start at home. You got to take care of home. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Please like, share, subscribe. This turned out to be a long live, but I figured it would. I just want to get on here and just talk and just speak about, what came to me today, because I really want to get out there that we can't judge people based off of their appearance, because we got a lot of people who are hurting in this world, and a lot of them are pretty. Yeah. A lot of the pretty people need a hug. It is what it is. So until the next video, peace and love. Oh, and please remember, again, like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to get the videos out there as much as I can. Want to have lives, interact with people, build my subscribers. But so I'm just trying to be more consistent with my content. Looks like I just had someone jump on Hey, Dream. I hope you had a good birthday. So yeah, share it with people. I mean, I know I said a lot, but it's a lot of real stuff. It's things that I feel like I need to get out there. I mean, really, this is the type of stuff when I'm around my friends and stuff pre-pandemic I talk about. So I'm just kind of bringing it to you all, but this is just me. Chic. I always got something to say because I'm always thinking. So I hope that this live can help somebody out there. So until the next broadcast, peace and love. Bye.